Today, I
хочу вам
want to tell
рассказать
you about a very
очень
interesting
интересном
object.
объекте. В общем-то, у меня все
In
объекты
general,
интересные.
all my
И
objects are
большинство из них
interesting,
очень интересные.
and most of
Видите,
them
за
are
мной
very interesting. You see,
обычный
there are
КПП.
ordinary gates behind me,
Обычного.
an ordinary
Вот,
military
и как вы
unit.
думаете, кто там находился? Ну, судя
Who do you
по
think was there?
вентиляторам и судя по
Well, judging
этим
by the propellers, judging by these coats of arms, by
этим
these
знакам,
signs,
что
it
это
should have been the
должны были
pilots
быть
here. But no,
летчики.
they weren't
А вот
pilots.
нифига.
It was a
Это
very,
не были
very
летчики, это
secret
был
facility.
очень секретный объект.
The remains of a military camp. Let's see, is there still a ladder? I wonder how they got into a brick and haven't dismantled it yet. The brick is good silicate brick, so they could still sort it out for themselves.
Лестница еще есть. Вполне себе нормальные. Так.
Access to the roof from this entrance? No here, no exit to the roof.
Зато. Так.
Look, one building has already turned into rubble.
Превратилось в труху. Ну,
The rest are more or less standing. Here are the apartments, the houses of the officers.
Составы.
People used to live here. Look, there are more wires. Are they aluminum? Why haven't they been torn down and handed over to anyone in metal?
Так.
Another house. I wonder what it could be.
Здесь.
The barricades are made. The doors are filled in, propped up. And here, so that they don't get through. Is this all for some kind of airsoft? Or are the military training?
Засыпаны. Подперто. И здесь, чтобы не пролезли. Наверное, для какого-нибудь аэрсофта самое.
This is the best place to play war. If paintball was played here, then there would be colored spots from the balls. There is nothing.
Потому что было бы здесь пейнтбол, играли бы тут от мячей, от шариков были бы пятна цветные, а ничего нету. Так. Да. Номер 5.
Army ration number 5. Potatoes with ground meat and sauce. Some kind of army food.
С молотым мясом, с соусом. Какая-то еда армейская.
Maybe even the military trains here. Although it may be that some fans of airsoft or some others like to play war games. Although the military trains here. Because the last time I came here, I couldn't get on the radio telescope myself. I've seen a lot of identical Army-style vehicles here. Everything is green in green color. And some people look like military men who were busily walking around here. I thought maybe they decided to build some kind of military base or training center here, too. It turns out, no. It turns out they were just practicing.
Решили сделать какую-нибудь военную базу, учебный центр. Вот. Кажется, не надо, кажется, просто тренировались. Вот смотрите.
Here, look at this. Once there were buildings, and there are no buildings.
И вот у нас.
And now we have a radar in our direction. Let's go to that last building. It is clear that there was nothing else here. That's where the forest begins.
Там уже лес начинается основательный.
We're trying to climb up to the roof.
Может быть.
Maybe the stairs haven't been destroyed yet, although it looks like they are destroyed. This building is the worst in appearance in terms of technical condition.
Сразу наверх.
Let's go in. It was some kind of barracks. Large squares, large corridors. Everything is big.
Потому что вот большие площади. Большие коридоры. Все большое. Ну, кто здесь служил?
Who served here? Tell me, it would be interesting to talk to you. Let's hope it doesn't all collapse under me.
Не подо мной.
Well, here I was in this
Вот в
house,
этом доме
in
я
this
был, в этом
entrance.
подъезде. Так, смотрите.
Look at the buildings destroyed into small rubble.
Один, следующий. Надо будет в гугле карты посмотреть.
I'll need to Google some historical maps and see how many buildings there were and what size they were, maybe even attach a photo to the video.
Сколько здесь было строений и каких они были размеров. Может быть, даже приложу в комплекте. Чтобы иметь представление, какой здесь был воинский городок.
To have an idea of what kind of military camp there was, because it was interesting here. There was another building here, but now it has been destroyed, where the processing center was. That is, where the information came from the big radar, where it was recorded and decoded, to send it further to Moscow.
И здесь же ее, соответственно, расшифровывали. Там большой был дата-центр. И уже расшифрованную слали там куда-то дальше. В Москву. Так. Таким я... По такой лестнице я не полезу наверх.
I'm not going to climb a ladder like that. Here's a ladder like this.
Вот по такой лестнице. Вот такой лестнице. Вот, был дата-центр.
It was an interesting data center. I have never met with such data centers before, where there was an intermediate floor between the first and second floors, which had all the communications, all the wires, even ventilation and cooling. The height of this floor was 1.5 meters. That is, you could practically stand.
Вот, ну и высота этого этажа какая-нибудь там 1,5 метра. То есть стоять можно было практически стоять. Ох ты ж, какой древний латвийский символ.
Such an ancient Latvian symbol is a symbol. And this is probably a symbol of fertility. Yes, it usually goes in combination with such a symbol. It's like yin and yang. Guess what it is?
Отгадайте, что это такое. Так. Глядите.
The height is not enough to see the radars themselves.
Сами радары. Рот наоборот. Хьюз там сучка. Сучки. Непонятно. Вот, технические.
The technical building was destroyed, and underground corridors led from it to the large radar and the small radar. There are two of them here. One is 32 meters. This is a large radar. The second is 16 meters. Well, 32 is certainly impressive, although I once saw 100 meters. In Germany, there is a 100-meter one, and it is placed on a hill, surrounded by forests. The view is majestic just from some computer toy. I don't know about some colony on some remote planet, or from Star Wars, radar on the planet Ender.
Из какой-то, не знаю, компьютерной игрушки про какую-то колонию на какой-то там отдаленной планете. Вот. Когда советские войска уходили, этот радар пытались
Привести в полную негодность. Вернее, привели в полную негодность.
When the Soviet troops left, they tried to make this radar completely unusable. Everything that could have been destroyed there, everything was broken. All the wires were cut. The transformers were destroyed. But we did it so that we could quickly restore it if necessary. In the early years of Latvia's independence, the radar was an abandoned object with an unknown status. But then they decided that it should be restored, but for peaceful purposes. Well, we found some military men, pensioners who stayed in Latvia and who stayed here. And step by step, we managed to restore everything. Now a former military radar, it works as a radio telescope. It is integrated into the European or even global network of radio telescopes. This is how it happens, radio telescopes that are connected to the network. At a certain point, they begin to scan one area of space. And since they are all synchronized with each other, they complement each other with their data. Data from each radio telescope is recorded on hard drives and sent for decryption. And the finished results come back. When the radar was built, it was the largest in the USSR and the fourth largest in the world for many years. So far, near Moscow, near the city of Korolev, they have not built a larger one for long-range communication with spacecraft. When the idea arose to carry out reconstruction, many companies, after looking at the design, abandoned the project. The reasoning is that they will not be able to install the reflective plates exactly as accurately as they are doing now. They probably found someone who took on such a difficult job. Since a few years ago, major repairs were carried out on both radars. The big radar is engaged in science, and the small one fulfills commercial orders.
Обычно они вот так вот стоят. И, соответственно, если с ямами для того, что если что с ними произойдет.
What are the interesting places here? What are these trenches? There must be a secure perimeter here somewhere. In some highly secret facilities, trenches and caponiers were dug around, where tanks drove in and became a firing point. Such places were usually made in places where nuclear weapons were injured. We are now on the edge of a very secret, military facility. How much of a secret facility it was, I'll tell you in the second part of this video. Where I will show is not the radar itself. There was probably a local power plant here. Here are the places for transformers. They always make holes under them. If the cooling oil leaks, it falls to the bottom and leaks out. This greatly reduces the likelihood of fire. They usually stand like this, with pits so that if something happens to them, the oil will flow down, and they just continue to stand. Well, as I said, someone is practicing shooting here. The location is certainly good, but we will continue to explore the transformer substation where we could have generators. We had transformers here. Big, good transformers, bolted down with big bolts. Let's go up to the second floor. What do we have here? Were the big guys playing war games again? It's hard to imagine a better place for fans of airsoft or paintball.
Ну, и что у нас здесь? Опять большие дядьки войнушку играли.
Next, we go from the electrical substation to the transportation department. Here we are greeted by 6 large garages. Maybe there was on this side. No, it doesn't look like it.
6 больших гаражей, может быть, и по эту сторону было. Да нет, не похоже. Ну. Ах ты ж.
What's it? Some kind of standings.
1 или 2. Так. Так. Стенка-то, стенка. Пошла трещина.
After the military left, there were good
Ну,
5-story
три
buildings and good garages.
Пятиэтажки.
Absolutely calm. People could live here. If it wasn't for one problem,
Нет,
there
4
aren't any
пятиэтажки.
settlements in the area.
Ну,
The approximate population
Разрешите
density is
мне
1 person per 1 square
в
kilometer.
ту не идти,
The nearest town
потому
is
что
30
это
kilometers
еще
away.
одна обычная пятиэтажка. Ничего там особо интересного в ней нет. Ну, вот они, дюны. А вот главное блюдо нашего сегодняшнего посещения. 32-метровая антенна радиотелескопа. Бывший объект «Зvezdochka».